Hello everyone, welcome to an episode of TooHealthTalk. A show gets to share real health challenges and get to break it down in a very simple and honest conversation. On today's episode, we have someone very special, special to me, special to the community, like mostly special to children. I think without her, so many children will be, I don't know where they'll be at today. So I'm so happy to have her today, and it's an honor to have you today in our podcast. The person of Fatima Bello. A lot of people get to ask, who is Fatima Bello? And today we're going to find out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you have a foundation that is Haske Children Foundation. So what really inspired you to start this foundation?
So my niece Janan, from a very young age, I was taking care of her. She was born with Down syndrome, and then after she got heart surgery, she got meningitis that was so severe that caused brain damage.
Wow.
And she lost the ability to talk, to see, to hear. At that time, they called the stage a vegetable stage.
Wow.
And so from a young age, I think I was about 11 or 12, right?
Wow.
Seeing that, and my only priority was to learn how to take care of her. So I think that was definitely like the inspiration, and it instilled values in me to want to look out to other children that resemble Janan or any type of disability, and then make sure that they're well taken care of as best as possible.
Was that traumatizing for you?
It's funny you say that, because yesterday someone was like, have you ever gone through therapy? And I was like, no, I think helping children in that situation is my therapy. But it wasn't traumatic, actually. I think it made me who I am today. It helped me build strength and character. And then also it helped me look at life differently, right?
Wow.
To really dedicate my life to caring for children with disabilities.
Wow. So that now you're caring for children with disability in Nigeria. Like, did you think that there's a gap? And like, what made you feel that there's that gap? Because I know that's the gap you're trying to fill now.
Yeah.
Is there a moment where you feel that, oh, there's a gap and you needed to fill the gap?
Yeah, so at that young age when I was taking care of Janan, just seeing what people back home here in Nigeria said about her situation.
Wow.
And how they felt about her situation. I think that stayed with me, even though I think I probably buried it for so many years. And then like as I got older in the last 5 years, I decided to start this foundation. I realized, there's something back home that needs to change. I'm proudly from Katsina, right? So most of our work is in northern Nigeria.
Yeah.
And we have such a beautiful culture, and I love our culture and our traditions and our customs. But unfortunately, we have a lot of beliefs and myths that are detriment to children with disabilities. And so realizing that, I was like, okay, well, what can we do to come in and kind of bridge the gap, like you said? Because something has to be done, and we can't sit back and continuously say, oh, they're not treating children with disabilities correctly, or oh, if someone sees a child with seizures, for example,
Yeah.
to think that it's maybe something supernatural, right? And to help people understand and learn that your child was born this way, and maybe there's like a chemical imbalancement. There is something there that has caused your child to behave a certain way that we may look at it as not normal, right? But with proper care and medication and education, we can definitely help that child thrive within their circumstances.
Wow. So you've been in this system, you've been helping children for like over 12 years. During the course of you've been in the field work, helping children in Nigeria, is there any eye-opening, like, is there an eye-opener? Like, is there something that opened your eyes to say that, okay, yes, you need to fill this gap?
Yeah. So within our first year of starting the foundation, we partnered with another foundation, Sal Classroom. And what they do is it's like a standardized teaching program. It's basically a school. And they take in about 10 students, and they provide basic education for them, make sure everything is taken care of for them. So we came in and say, hey, why don't we make this an inclusive classroom, right? Why don't we enroll a few students with disabilities within the program? And so one of the little girls in that program that we enrolled, she simply just fell and fractured her wrist, right?
Oh,
And when you hear that, you're just like, oh, okay, I'm sure they took her to the hospital. It was properly taken care of, and that's it. But unfortunately, what happened was she was taken to a local doctor within that area.
oh,
And the way they dressed the wound, I will say, caused further damage, right? To the point that the arm basically it rotted. And so when we came in, we were like, well, listen, like this girl needs to have her hand amputated to stop further damage.
oh,
And so it was during that moment, seeing the reaction of her grandparents, like, absolutely not. That's not, we don't know what prosthetics are. You're not going to amputate her hand. Absolutely not. We don't know what this is, which I understand, right? Because it's something that's new to them. They rather take her to a spiritual doctor. And then the
wow.
spiritual doctor told them that, oh, absolutely no intervention needs to be taken. It's just jinns that have possessed or have entered her hand, and she just needs these herbs to take care of it. And so unfortunately, the girl had to, we just had to keep fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. And thankfully, they agreed. Her hand was amputated, but they still haven't accepted prosthetics yet. So that was an eye-opening moment, really. And it was very like, it made me realize it is a process and you have to meet people at their level, right? I also had to take a step back and realize, well, of course, they're not familiar with prosthetics. Who am I to come in and say, this is what we have to do, right? So yeah.
Oh, so you've talked about like, oh, they're saying there's a spirituality to this child having disability. So is there like a stigma around children with disability in Nigeria?
Interestingly enough, it's not just Nigeria, actually.
It's not just
It's
Nigeria.
not just Nigeria.
Wow.
Worldwide, if you look back in history books, you will hear about times where children with disabilities were sent off away from the family, right? Because they were seen as a curse to the family. They were seen as less than with everyone else in the family. And so it's not just Nigeria, it's everywhere. But I just think in Nigeria, we have a lot of catching up to do. And so it's not, and also it's not just Northern Nigeria, it's Nigeria as a whole, where we still have people that think they can take a child to a spiritual leader and they will just pray, quote unquote, the devil out of them. And it's like, your child just needs medicine to help manage their seizures, and that's it.
So do you have any message for parents that are currently facing these issues of having their children having one disability or the other? Do you have any message for them?
So I would like to tell parents to not be afraid of taking your child to a doctor and expressing your concerns. If you notice your child, for example, isn't making eye contact, isn't talking, is nonverbal, and they're like 3 years old, talk to your doctor. And it's okay to be afraid of what the diagnosis may be. That's natural and that's part of it. But you need to be open and accept the fact that, hey, your child may need extra help in certain areas, and that's okay. And also, parents need to understand and just accept the fact that early intervention is crucial. And the earlier you accept that your child has a diagnosis, the easier it is to help that child, right? And put them on the right path and help them thrive within their life and their situation. This whole notion of people saying, I don't see disability, that's not going to get us anywhere, right? It's just like, I don't want to equate disability with race, but it's just like when people are like, oh, I don't see race, I don't see color. And it's like, yes, you do. You see I'm Black, right? You know what I mean? Like, you see it. So the whole, I don't see it, so we don't have to talk about it type of thing, no. And parents, honestly, like, it's okay. You're going to be in denial at first.
Wow.
It's natural, it's normal, but think of your child. And as a woman of faith, God makes no mistakes.
True.
So your child was created in that way for a reason, and you were chosen to be that child's parent for a reason, because you can do it.
I'm really getting emotional with you talking about your experience now, like helping children. So what was one thing that touched you? Like, can you share a successful story of how you were able to like transform a child's life?
So I'll go back to the style classroom example where we enrolled 2 students within the classroom. And the beginning, when the child first started, very shy, did not want to interact, very cautious of her hand, right? She didn't want to interact with other kids, and other kids also didn't want to interact with her. But now she's one of like the top students in the class.
Wow.
She's very popular within her classroom. The kids love her, and I think that's just so beautiful because it helps people see, and it really emphasizes the whole notion of if you let your children from a young age interact with children with disabilities, they grow up realizing that disabilities is just a part of life, right? Everyone is created differently, and so if you let your child play with a child with Down syndrome from a young age, or play with a child on a wheelchair, they grow up knowing that, okay, there are some people with Down syndrome, there are some people on a wheelchair, there are some people that have a learning disability, and that's okay. And so when they grow up, they're not discriminating against them, right? And that way they can interact with them comfortably, and also the child with disability also feels loved and valued and part of society. And that's what we all want, right? We all want to be a part of something.
Oh, so where do you see your foundation in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, I really hope and pray that we are able to get behind some legislation, right? Because we do have a lot of laws within Nigeria that are for children with disabilities or persons with disabilities in a whole, but they're not. We need to enact those laws, right? We need to make sure that buildings are accessible, right? That's one thing that I think it's major. We need to make sure that teachers within schools go through sensitivity training, right? And also training that they can recognize a child with a learning disability early on, rather than blaming or labeling that child as, oh, that child doesn't listen, that child can't sit. No, understand, maybe that child has ADHD, maybe that child has dyslexia, right? So also teachers need to be able to see those signs early so that we can help that child and put them on the right path. So that's where I would like to see ourselves in 5 years, like behind something like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So lastly, before we go, like, what's your dream? Because I see you have like your passion is for children with disability.
Yeah.
So what's your dream for children with disability in Nigeria? And are you going to go across? Because you said you're majorly focused in the north. Are you looking at expanding?
Definitely. We actually do take cases all over Nigeria when it comes to maybe a child needs surgery, a child needs an adaptive equipment, a child needs funds for medicine. Because unfortunately, the families that we deal with, a lot of them don't even have money for food, right? So it's like, how can you ask a parent to go buy medication for one child when they don't even have food for the whole family, right? So we try to go into those families and help them financially. But my dream, honestly, is to be able to open a few facilities where it's for children with disabilities, right? Where parents also, because parents of children with disabilities, they need a break too. People don't want to talk enough about that. I'm like, you think it's hard being a parent to a child that doesn't have disabilities? Imagine what you go through when you have a child with disability. And on top of the stigma that's surrounded with that, right? The added pressure of people saying you did something wrong, it's your fault. The finances, it's very expensive to have a child with disability. So all of that. So I would like to open a facility where parents that are able to pay financially for their child to come in, but also parents that can't afford it, right? Kind of have like a hybrid of some students that are on tuition and some that are not. And it's just like a day program, right? Like where they can come in and they're well taken care of. We have nurses and doctors on staff. They have physiotherapy, they interact, they're just well taken care of, kind of like a safe haven for them and their parents. So that is really my dream. Hopefully we can open a few around Nigeria. So please, people, donate.
So now also, I wanted to ask you, is there any like upcoming programs you're having?
Yeah, so should I mention it?
Yeah, sure.
So we actually, our first awareness campaign is in partnership with Mukhtar Heart Foundation, and it's going to be here at Habib Medical Clinic, where we're launching an awareness campaign for heart conditions. And so we're focusing on children with different heart conditions. And the idea is to have parents come in, of course, free, sit down and learn, hear from a cardiologist, hear from a dietitian, hear professionals in the field tell them, what they can do to help their child with a heart condition, and also the realities of what it is to have a child with a heart condition, how you can help them thrive within their own bodies, right? What kind of foods should they eat? What should they stay away from? What kind of activities should they do? Because another thing is parents, when they have a child with disability, they don't do it intentionally, but like naturally they want to protect them, right? So they tend to kind of keep them away from other people. They tend to, oh no, don't do this, don't do that, you can't play, you know what I mean? But actually, no, they can do that. So so the program basically is to help teach parents that, listen, your child can still go out and play, but just help your child know that maybe there's a certain limit, or when they start to feel a certain way, maybe, okay, it's time for them to sit down and take a break, have some water. And so that's going to be here very soon in the next few weeks. If anyone would like to join us here at Habib Medical Clinic, or join us online, we'll have that streamed. And yeah.
Okay, that's people should support Fatima. She's in a lot of work. Because I'm even wondering, how do you manage your mental stress? Like, how do you there's a whole lot, seeing children with disabilities. Like, it's a lot, even for me. So it's not easy. So I'm wondering, you as a woman going through all this stress, like you said earlier, do you have mental stress at some point?
So like I said, I am a woman of faith, right? I am Muslim, and when I tell you I hold God close, I do to the best of my ability, and I'm very prayerful. And I think it's definitely like we mentioned earlier, or you mentioned earlier, this is my passion, and I just really want to help all the little kiddos, and when we have a success story, right, that makes up for 10 horror stories that we have to see or deal with. And so, I think, and honestly, truly, interacting with these children, going to their homes and talking to them and playing with them and hugging them, that brings me so much joy. But I still cry. Yesterday I visited a kid and I cried. Of course not I try not to boo-hoo cry in front of the parent, but I definitely had tears, because this is just their reality of life. And unfortunately, you can't help every child. And so I think that's what actually keeps me up at night. Not necessarily the children that we have seen, but the ones that I know are out there and we haven't had access to them to help them in any way.
The Lord is your strength. So at this point, we've come to the end of this show. But before we go, do you have any general overview of advice to parents, or do you have a general conclusion of? Do you have anything to say?
Yeah. Disabilities, according to the United Nations, is the largest minority group because it affects all ages, gender, socioeconomic backgrounds. So just be kind, because you never know what tomorrow holds.
Okay. You never know what tomorrow holds. So thank you so much for watching up to this moment, and I appreciate you for sticking, and also I appreciate you, Fatima Bello, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I hope to see more of the project, mostly succeeding and changing children's life and all. If you watch up this moment, I want to appreciate you. Please subscribe. That's the only way you support what we're doing here. Subscribe and share this video to someone with disability that needs support. I think Fatima will reach out to them. Or we'll reach out to you. Or any of them.
We'll do our best.
Yeah. So thank you once again, and have a good day. Bye.